Welcome back to another episode of Fuzzy Memories from the Road. This is going to be the 4th episode of season 2. It's about Musham Castle and some Austrian stuff, but really GHI episode. So for those of you that are watching the GHI episode and then jumping over here, which you should be doing, by the way, it's called The Witch's Castle. So you should know who I am by now. If you don't, my name is Brandy, and with me as always is my Dustin Pari.
How you doing, Greenie?
I'm good. So we kind of took a little break in between filming with the holidays and all of that. And the one thing I noticed straight away is your background is different.
I know, my curtains are gone. we purchased some exercise equipment and we moved the room around a bit. So currently this is the background.
I have some paintbrushes. You could just like paint the curtains back.
No, I think it's nice. I think it kind of draws the eye forward. Like the focus is just me here in the chair.
That's the pinnacle of the scene, right? All of your fans,
yeah, it's like masterpiece.
Fans will love it. That's what the
right. Well, we'll take that. That's fine.
Okay, so as I had mentioned, this episode we go to Austria,
and yes.
Austria. I feel like we did a lot of locations in Austria, didn't we?
I think so. I remember a lot of Hitler ties, which we always have to do, like no matter where we are. At least some of the things in Austria made sense. I remember seeing a lot of windmills on driving everywhere, like just fields of those big windmills everywhere, which were really kind of cool. Didn't really have them that much in the States here in New England at that time. So that was really the first time I was seeing those electric producing windmills everywhere, and like fields of them. It's kind of weird. And I don't know. I always think like when the world ends and the aliens come like to check out civilization's ruins, they'd be like, the heck was all this they were doing? These weird monuments everywhere, Loved wind.
For sure. Now they're everywhere, but they are pretty massive. I do remember that specifically. And all of the references in previous episodes to the Sound of Music, I feel like now is the time to talk about the Sound of Music.
Right, yeah, now it comes together.
Because this first location, and I have the case file. You ready?
Here it is.
The Witch's Castle, Musham Castle in Utternberg, Austria. And it was up in the Austrian Alps. And it was quite literally the scene from The Sound of Music where they're spinning around and dancing on the mountaintop.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. It really was like really breathtaking to see. I remember like going out and taking photos and everything, and it was really nice. Cold, but great.
It was always cold. I think we filmed this shortly after we did my birthday episode at wherever it was. I can't remember.
Brandy's birthday week.
It's true. It never ended.
No.
It turned like 25 or 26 like 20 times in that week. Yeah, so this was this really cool castle on a mountain, built in, I think, like the 15 or 1600s. I remember this is the witch trial tie-in. So the witch trials happened in Europe long before they happened in what we know as Americans as the Salem witch trials. And because of what was happening in Austria, actually, at the time, there was a very famous book that was written that I cannot pronounce that Dustin
Yes,
penned.
indeed. So the Malleus Maleficarum, or at least that's how I pronounce it, and it was basically like the field guide to hunting witches. And Catholicism at the time had a huge problem with paganism, which they were viewing as witchcraft. And Pope Innocent VIII kind of gave the papal blessing to this book, and thousands upon thousands of people get hunted down and murdered because of it. And a lot of it stems because of what was going on in Austria. I remember at Musham Castle, they had a water wheel, and they said they would string witches up and just leave them there for the birds to peck at and stuff. Like, just horrible, horrible treatment of people.
Right. And, I mean, sadly, all of these people were just poor people or people that maybe didn't, practice Christianity or go to church at the time. A lot of them actually were gypsies, you know? So
It would have been you, Greenie. You would have been in trouble.
I know, right? Well, I would have fought as hard as I could have. Had all of the torture devices, which, I mean, we've been to a lot of places. This is very common for castles and places like this. So it wasn't, I don't think,
Yeah,
anything new for us to see. But,
right.
it's amazing to think that, you know, that was just common practice back then.
Yeah, it was just awful. It was just a horrible treatment of people because they didn't understand that people wanted to worship in different ways or just didn't want to be bothered. And yeah, it was just really horrible. But yeah, I mean, they did have quite a number of different torture devices there. Water wheel being the only one that really to me stood out as something that we hadn't been done. But it was nice, nice castle. It was a great little town. It was like a little ski town and stuff. It was really nice.
Yeah, lots of chalets, and I remember we took like a half day and we kind of drove up the mountainside and kind of just
Yeah.
were the tourists, we were sightseeing, and I remember, I remember one morning I went out on my own. It was probably like April, maybe like the first week of May, because like I said, I think we did this right after my birthday, which is April 14th. So it was somewhere in there. And so late spring, and they had these giant horses. And I think they're called like Noriker horses or something, and they're like Clydesdales, basically. And I remember walking over to them, and it was just me, and they saw me, and they just galloped over to me, these massive like beasts, and they just wanted to be pet, you know. Just really cool, like middle of nowhere village in the mountains. And I remember they had a lot of I call it roadside religion. They had the little huts with, like, little figurine of Jesus or whatever, and people would just come up to these little places on their walks and they just pray.
It was a cool little town. I think the timeline that you set was right because I remember it being a ski area, but it was off season, which is why we were able to go there because it was cheap.
Like,
As always, I remember the hotel actually there not being a lot of personnel there because of it being off season. I got locked out of my room and we had to find a way to break into the room because we had nobody to recode a key. So that was a problem. And also, unfortunately, my room was situated. I remember I was excited because I had a clothesline here. I had a little clothesline outside my window, which was a big deal. Slaughtered. There was like the smell of like animals. It was really bad, and the beds were really tiny. I remember that they were low little beds.
yeah, I remember now that you mention it, the slaughterhouse, like across the way. It was actually like kind of like their backyard. It was very
Yeah,
odd. Like they shared the lot. Um,
right.
so it smelled all the time. I do remember that now. And I remember they
Yeah.
had a great, like the one little restaurant that was still open in town, and they had like a really good soup. It was like an Italian restaurant,
Mhm.
and there was like two people that, like, a husband and wife,
Right.
that worked there, and that was it for the town.
Yeah.
Like it was shut down. Um, but so in terms of the investigation, I don't remember much of the claims. I remember our client, the castle was owned by her family,
Mhm.
and there was this thing where they still like abided by like the old school rules where it went to the firstborn male heir, but because her brother or something was too young to take control of the castle, she was
Yeah.
like the sitting like controller for that time of the castle, until her brother became of age or something. It was weird. And so I remember, like, I think it was the typical claims of like hearing voices, seeing shadows, kind of that thing.
Yeah.
I
Footsteps.
Yeah. Um I feel like 99.9% of my investigation was totally edited out of the episode. Um, there was like this, there was like the castle, and then there was this back section where it continued, but there was a lot of like wooden scaffolding and stairs that led to like back sections and back rooms. Um, and I investigated, I think, primarily back there, and we were getting like weird noises. I think we had gotten like a couple voices on EVP, but I think that was kind of it from my experience at that place.
I recall working with Barry mostly, and I remember there was an area where there was, I want to say it was like a doorway underneath a stairwell or something that opened up on its own, and that was kind of a big deal. I remember that. And then one of the claims was the Countess had to go to wind the clock every day. Like there was I don't know if it was a clock tower or what it was, but there was some huge like piece of clock machinery, and she would have to go wind it every day, and she would see like these images of like these two like I don't know, like almost like gnome-like creatures, like little fellows, you know. And Barry getting, I want to say, you get like a full spectrum photograph or something of what looked like a smaller person in that area, and but all the evidence pointed to there being activity, but nothing being harmful. So I remember just kind of telling her, like, just kind of take back the place. Like if you notice they're around, just be vocal about it, which always seems weird in the beginning, but usually works out. And I think that was pretty much it. I think that was the high points from what I remember of the place.
Yeah, I mean, I remember whoever I was investigating with, in the back section, we did use like the Faraday cage and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, a lot of the the items that we implemented during our investigations, a lot of times they never made air.
Mm-hmm.
Which, so the viewers thought, oh, these punks are just going in with like an audio recorder. Like, what are they doing that's new?
Yeah.
Well, back in Brazil, we used the obelisk, or
Yeah.
obelisk, whatever. It's a piece of junk.
Yeah.
I remember using back then, what was it called? The Frank's box, and then it became the ghost box, and now it's called the spirit box, and whatever it's called
I
today.
remember using different devices measuring for infrasound and
Static.
vibration sensors, all those things.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah,
But unfortunately, there's only so much time in an episode, and I think that the biggest problem for that was the time constraints with trying to explain it to the viewing audience.
right.
They thought, well, if you show this piece of equipment, you're going to need to explain it, so that's going to cut into what we can air of
The
everything
investigation.
else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
There's more about showing the activity. Don't show us the science of how you are trying to, or whatever items you're using to try to disprove.
yeah, so you're right, though, and that kind of brings up a good point, that I'm sure you've heard it too. People saying, well, I watched the episode and you guys always say, did you see that? And we as the viewers never saw anything. Well, here's the deal. Okay? The deal was Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International, we were shot pretty legitimately as a ghost hunting team that were followed by documentary film crew. it wasn't their job to film the paranormal activity. It was our job to try to capture that. They were filming us doing our job. And so, I try to explain that to people, and, I get it. You're disappointed. You want to see what we saw, but it's just not how the show was shot.
No. And then there was the idea of like helmet cams and this, that, and the other, but the problem with the IR and everything was always, crossing the IR lights and everything getting blown out, so you can never see anything that way.
So something else I remember from this episode when it aired, and it stuck with me because I think it was like a problem we kind of had multiple times throughout the series. We had like Mike Rowe as our narrator, and he was cool, and that worked. And then we would have like witnesses for each location, people that had their own experiences, and some of them were young, some of them were old, and most of them didn't speak English. And in this one, we had this older woman that was one of the witnesses recounting her experience, but in Austrian. And the voiceover was like some 19-year-old girl from the Valley. So it just did not match, and it was hilarious, and I remember I couldn't focus on like what was being said. I was just like, this doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. It's hard to get. What was funny too, like seeing the GHI episodes airing in other countries where we were dubbed, like to see who might get to, like somebody's job was just repeat whatever we said in like Italian, it's like every week there's some guy with like a super deep voice that's like doing my role. It's like, what is this going on?
I remember I saw that happen for one of the Paris episodes, and we were all dubbed in French, and I was like, what is happening? I believe we deemed it haunted. I didn't have a ton of personal experiences there. It was a cool place, though.
It was. Yeah, it was a very cool place indeed. But yeah, I remember a couple of things. I remember really liking the location. Yeah, and just I remember the hotel. I always remember the hotels for some reason. That was horrible.
It smelled.
Where else did we go when we were there? I don't even recall.
So we go from Utternberg, Austria, which is up in the mountains, to a metropolitan area. This place was called Schloss Porcia, and it was in Spital an der Drau, Austria. I don't know.
Something like that.
It's the best I can do. I'm no Arnold Schwarzenegger. But so it was quite the contrast from Musham to here, because we were up in the mountains for Musham. Here it was very busy, very, very city. There was like bus lines zipping through. Yeah. What I really remember mainly was there was like a park right in front of this place, kind of off to the side. And we kind of just hung out on the grassy knoll as like the crew loaded in. Yeah. And there's just tons of pillars.
Right. It was like one part like college campus and then like a Roman bathhouse. There's a lot going on there for sure.
Yeah.
It was weird. I remember like art. I remember there being like statues or paintings, and I don't remember what it was for, but like it was a museum of some sort.
It was some kind of museum, and I just remember because of that, one of the rooms that we were supposed to investigate, we had to take our shoes off in there, and it just made it awkward because like you have all of your gear and stuff, and then you're like, hold on, let me take my shoes off.
Dear God. I don't remember why we had to do that. Like, I don't know if it was like a sacred space or if like the floor was like some special tile. Like, why would we ever have to do that?
I think they had something like painted on the floor or something. I really don't remember.
Keep people off it. That seems like a bad idea.
I know. So this place, I think, was built again in like the 16th century by some Spanish count.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know how that figured into the mix. But I I remember there was this painting, this really big painting of this woman, and she was like a
Mhm.
countess or something. I don't know. She's supposed to be the spirit that is there, and she just looked real rough.
It's like Ghostbusters 2. It's like the painting of Vigo coming to life.
Oh yeah, only she was even less attractive than Vigo.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, no, she wasn't wearing her old lady face cream. Um, so I don't honestly remember anything paranormal from this place. I just remember we made the paper.
Hooray for us.
We made
Hopefully
the
for a good
local
reason.
we made the local paper. So first of all, here's the black folder. And are you ready? I
Let's,
have the paper.
let's see it. Wow, look at that.
I
Spook out despair.
know.
I love spook out despair, whatever that means.
I,
The ghost, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like even though I probably wasn't actually on the investigation on the episode, I
Well,
did.
you were there.
Yeah, I was really there. I promise.
Yep.
So it's
Sometimes we don't make it up. Joe Chin always has been there, every
yeah.
episode. God bless him.
Um.
Not haunted, nothing going on. I don't remember anything about the case. I just remember the arch columns and the art everywhere.
Yeah, I don't think we deemed that one haunted. I think I do remember um the mayor the mayor of that town
Yeah.
actually was on the show, and he was like one of the witnesses to some of the paranormal activity there.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Every once in a while you get like a weird star witness in these things, you know? But
Yeah, I think we only worked with I think we worked with one other mayor, and that was in the Argentina episode.
yeah.
I don't know if he was on camera or not, but yeah, I mean, sometimes you run into like really interesting situations,
Yeah.
especially when there's a language barrier. And so you're told, oh, this is the mayor. And so you want to be respectful, but you don't know the language. So you're just like,
You know what you're doing. You
hey,
don't know the language, you don't know the customs, like do I shake hands, do I bow, can I make eye contact?
I
What
know.
am I supposed to do? Dear Lord. Was our client a woman there, a tall woman, or am I thinking of the Italy place?
You're thinking of the Palazzo Ducal.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yep.
getting that one confused.
And that's going
Who
to
was
be
our client?
episode number 5 in season 2 of Fuzzy Memories. The only thing that happened
Yeah.
The only thing that happened that I remember now that I really think about it is this place was the place that had the weird attic, and they had like tons of like wood arches, wood like wheels, different things up there, and they had this weird table that was used as a Ouija table.
I don't remember that at all. They have a special table for it?
Yeah, because they had like local people that had heard through the grapevine that this place was haunted, and
Yeah.
they had gone up to the attic, and they used like a glass. They put like the glass over the table, and they made their own table Ouija, and that's where Rob and
What?
Joe Chin were sitting up there asking for like a sound or a knock or whatever, and they got it, but the table itself like moved, and it made
Was this
Rob
the one-
actually like react.
Did you see like an enclosed thing around the table, like a wooden box, like a black wooden box around the table?
Something
I think that
I
was
don't
it.
I don't know the specifics. I just remember this is the one that had the weird Ouija table in
Yeah.
that attic place.
Yeah, I think that might be it. Wow, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. But I think that was
Wow.
that was the only thing that was the only thing that I remember actually being weird enough to like recount. But I think it was just one of those personal experiences and not enough to actually call it haunted.
Yeah, Austria, I think, ended up being a pretty good place. You know, we had one case that was haunted, one was not haunted. We were like in the city, we are in the country. Like it was a nice little split of the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think we got a good taste of Austria. I feel like we filmed in Austria for like a long, long time. I think that was like a 6 week
Yeah.
one.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. It was a good time though. I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. It was a good place.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up the, what was it called? Witch's Castle episode of GHI. Until next time, Dustin.
Until next time, Miss Greenie, and thanks everybody for joining us here as we explore our fuzzy memories. We'll
And
see you.
remember to watch GHI on Peacock TV for free. Bye. I know. Oh my,
I know
Dustin.
it's going.
Dustin, you froze? You froze, but this is how you froze. Are you ready?
Yes, that's it. Very excited. I'm very excited. Ah, ha, ha.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Ah, anyway,
The internet is not our friend today.